Hello everyone, my name is Lindsay Vanderwood, and today I'm going to be doing a video based on blood bank with the focus of your blood type, RH, and antibody screen testing. So what we're going to need today are 2 transfer pipettes, 11 glass tubes, a reagent rack that can generally be found in the fridge, a timer, a centrifuge, a tube rack, saline solution, a heat block that should be set at 37 degrees, and an agglutination viewer lamp. So what do we want to do first? We want to get your patient's sample into plasma and red blood cells. So how we're going to do that is we are going to put the patient's sample in something to balance it on the centrifuge and centrifuge that for 5 minutes, and it should look something like this, where you have plasma on top, your buffer layer, and your red blood cells packed at the bottom. Next, you want to label your tubes for testing. So that means that each tube is going to get labeled with the reagent, your patient's identification, and your initials as the tech. So generally you want it set up like this. You want your sample, your patient's sample, your patient's red blood cell suspension, your patient's plasma, and then you want it in rows like this. So you're going to start with your forward A, forward B, anti-D, D control. Then going on to the next row, you're going to have reverse A, reverse B. Next row, screen 1, screen 2, and your auto control all labeled with your patient's name, reagent, and your initials. So how do you prepare a 3 to 4% red blood cell suspension and get your plasma ready? So now that you have your patient's sample all spun down and separated, you can separate the plasma and the red blood cells. So we're going to start with your transfer pipette, and you're going to collect up your plasma and place that into a tube that we already have labeled. So for your 3 to 4 red blood cell suspension, you're going to just have blood in your patient's tube left. You're going to get your tube that you have labeled as red blood cell suspension 3 to 4% with your patient's name and all that. You're going to fill it up with 1 milliliter of saline solution. Then you're going to get your transfer pipette and collect the packed red blood cells from your patient's sample. You only want to get about 1 to 2 drops in there. Fill it up just a little bit, not all the way up to the bulb of the transfer pipette. Next, you want to move that blood you've collected into your saline solution and just give it a good mix, and you'll see that it's lighter, and you want to compare it to your A1 cells just to make sure that you have an accurate suspension. Next, we want to place our reagents and patient samples into the labeled tubes. So generally, you're going to add 1 drop of patient red blood cells to your forward A, forward B, your anti-D, and your D control. Then you're going to want to add the reagents. So for forward A, it's going to be 1 drop of anti-A. For forward B, it's going to be 1 drop of anti-B. For your anti-D, it's going to be 1 drop of anti-D. And for your D control, it's going to be 1 drop of RH control. Now, when it comes to your plasma, you generally want to add about 2 drops to every tube that requires plasma. So for your reverse A, you're going to add 2 drops of plasma and 1 drop of A1 cells. For your reverse B, 2 drops of plasma, 1 drop of B cells. For your screen 1, 2 drops of plasma and 1 drop of your screen 1 cells, And for your screen 2, you want to add 2 drops of plasma and 1 drop of your screen 2 cells. And for the auto control, add 2 drops of the plasma and 1 drop of your patient's red blood cells. Next, let's move on to spinning and reading. So we want to load up in the centrifuge at forward A, forward B, anti-D, the D control, reverse A, and reverse B. Make sure it's all balanced. And we're going to spin that for 15 to 20 seconds. That's generally called an immediate spin. We'll do that, make sure it's balanced, and you'll read it under your agglutination viewer lamp. And so when you're reading, you generally want to look for if it has a button that is stuck to the bottom and how it breaks up. We record that with 0, 1 plus, 2 plus, 3 plus, and 4 plus, depending on 4 plus if it comes off as a whole piece or is very difficult to get off the bottom of the tube. 3 if it's broken up a little bit, 2 if it's broken up quite a bit, 1 if it's very, very small and broken up, almost a 0, and 0 is basically it is disintegrated or mixed in well, and you don't have any visual of agglutination. So as you go, while you're doing your individual forward A, forward B, and so on, you want to record that. So make sure at the very top you have your patient's name, their MRN, and record as you go. With you shake the tube, you record, shake the next tube, record. Next we want to go on to incubation. So generally that is going to be through PEG or LIS. You want to add 2 drops of whatever one you're doing to your screen cells and your auto control. Then you're going to add that to the heat block. And PEG is for 20 to 30 minutes. LIS is for 15 to 30 minutes. And if we're performing a week D, we also want to add that to the heat block, but that's only going to be for 15 minutes and we're not adding any PEG or LIS. You're going to do an immediate spin, and remember that's 15 to 20 seconds, and you're going to read. So if it comes out negative or 0, you want to wash that for 4 times. So you're going to basically resuspend the button, and you are going to add saline a centimeter from the top and respin it, make sure it's balanced in the centrifuge. And you're going to empty out the saline and then resuspend and fill it up again. And you're going to do that about 4 times. And you want a dry button at the end, so make sure you blot it dry with a paper towel. And then you're going to want to add AHG, about 2 drops, and then spin. If it's negative again, you need to confirm that it's a negative. So we're going to add 1 drop of Combs control cells, and then we're going to spin it again. If it's positive reaction, you see a 4+, 3+, 2+, then you are valid and you're negative. So next we want to move on to removing your screen cells and your auto control after your PEG or LIS incubation period. You also want to wash those for about 4 times and then blot dry, and then add the AHG, which is 2 drops again, and you're going to spin. Immediate spin, 15 to 20 seconds. If it's negative, then you take it under a microscope. If it's positive, you record it down. But however, if it is negative, you still need to confirm. So we're going to add 1 drop of those Combs control cells again. We're going to spin it again for 15 seconds. If it is positive and you see that 4, 3, 2+, then you are valid. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you listening to my video.